Making sense of the integral frameworks, theories, philosophies, and practices. Let's start with the word integral, its meanings, etymologies, synonyms, antonyms, semantic fields, specialized uses in specific domains like mathematics. Using an analogy, we are starting an investigation of something we do not know or are not sure of. We sure have the name of some protagonists. Integral philosophies, theories, practices, frameworks, approaches. The one that's common to all the cases is integral. We heard about the guy in the integral theories, integral philosophies. So he surely must be the one we have to start following to get to the end of this story. We can inquire into the protagonist's name, identity, definitions, close and remote family links and relationships, its etymological roots, its lineages, its languages, the family history, the origins, cultural framework, all the parent words sharing the same roots. We can inquire in these works, these activities, like the common uses and specific uses of it, the history of works and activities, what it was used for before, elsewhere, in other times and places. We can inquire into the environments in which it was used, in which it worked, where, when, in which context, with whom did the word work, where was it used. We can inquire into all his social surroundings and social milieu, the semantic fields it relates to. With whom is it found oftentimes? With whom is it confused? With whom does he work oftentimes? Who has the same or related uses? Who are his co-workers working the same fields but doing different jobs? Or who's the same work, who does the same work at different shifts? Who are the synonyms? Who does the exact opposite work? Who goes exactly against it? So who are its antonyms, for instance? And if we deepen the investigation analogy, we can go for it. We'll add the sosies. Words that look alike but are completely different in depth, in meaning. The homonyms with different exceptions, different meaning behind. And we can add also the wrong but popular definitions which become assigned to the word, although it didn't mean it in the first place. So these are the hearsay, the rumors, the gossip you hear on the word, which slowly become a habitual part of what's said about it and replace slowly its original uses and practices. And by habit, it becomes part of what the word really is or means. We can also explore the translations, which would be like the foreigners doing a work that's similar or related, but also different due to the different categories found in the language and the culture. So let's dive in. my my wife always has said, let's go follow the case before it's cold. So case file would be the investigation of integral. And I'll be the lead detective here. You can follow and inquire on your own and share results if you're interested. Case status still open. It's a multi-dimensional inquiry into things that weave so many strands together that it's difficult to see the entire tapestry. So let's start. My file will start with the identity and core definitions. Name, integral. As an adjective, is known as essential, fundamental, whole, necessary for completeness. It's known also as a known in mathematics, for instance, and defined as a function describing area under a curve, which is the inverse of differentiation. Is well known into the fields of philosophy or systems theory, and has nearly the same work, same uses as holistic, incorporating all aspects, integrative, integrating, integrated. We find him, for instance, in the famous or infamous integral theory of Ken Wilber. So what are the gossip, the rumors and misconceptions about it? Well, it can often be confused with things like all-inclusive or with intrinsic, belonging naturally, or with integrated, which shares a lot of the same roots with it and mean the idea of combined parts. And it can be misused as a buzzword for vague holism. A common say of our approach is integral without specifying in any way what's the meaning behind it. What is this integrality we're talking about? So what is a protagonist's family history? Let's track the etymology. Basic roots is the Latin integer, or the adjective integralis. Both mean not touched and derive from two verbs. One is tango, tangere, or tago, tagere, same meaning, and both mean to touch. They combine with the negative prefix in, which basically means not. And integer will thus mean whole, untouched, entire, unsoiled, and solid. While integral will mean unbroken, untouched in the idea of undamaged, still containing all the necessary components. So it's the direct lineage of the family there. Integer can mean whole number, so full units, not broken down, not divided into fragments, fractions. And we see a lineage that could go from this idea of integer as whole number to integrity as wholeness of personality, of character, being fully and wholly and entirely oneself, a core definition of my identity. I keep my integrity if I remain that. And then the line could follow to integral, what's essential for completeness. It's a field that does not include all the aspects relevant to its understanding would not be deemed integral. What are the sosies of a guy. How can we lose him watching distant cousins, homonyms, carrying the same names, but not the same identity and surely not the same definitions and uses? So integrals in math, are not the same as integral in philosophy, for instance. Same names, same spelling, different jobs. In French, you find the idea of intégrale, une intégrale, which means une œuvre intégrale, integral opus or integral works. It also means complete edition. The idea there is that nothing is extracted, nothing is filtered, nothing is censored. So you get access to all that someone has written or has said without editing, or without editing by removal of things that are deemed unsavory. Who are the known associates of a guy? Who is this integral guy found with? Well, we'll see him and his friends in the same semantic fields, or in the same ideal or ideological fields. So you get the synonym squad: common, integral, integrative, like in integrative medicine, and you get holistic, wholeness, unified, indivisible, intrinsic, entirety, entire, which is a lot of the same family origins. Who are his enemies? The gang bosses he works against. So the antonyms. Integrality is deeply at war with partiality, obviously, with brokenness, fragmentation. So integral is opposed frequently to partial, fragmentary, peripheral, extrinsic, eventually, when it's mixed with the intrinsic meaning. Broken, bribed, sullied, corrupted, tampered with in one way or another. And the frequent collaborators would be those we mentioned: framework, theory, paradigm, philosophies, theories, and also practices. Eventually, as time evolved and with the popularization in the 90s and early 2000s of the integral framework developed by Ken Wilber, publicized a lot of the previous works on integral ideas. You find integral ecologies, integral psychologies, integral meditation, integral religion, integral humanities, and you have many other lines carrying the same reference and working with the same guy, integral, and you find them in integral studies, the name of different schools or universities in the United States, which are not necessarily linked to the integral theory of Ken Wilber, but to all the common roots. So what does the guy do? What is this integral person, a word used for? what's the work history, what are usage across fields. So in mathematics, a definite integral is the area under the curve of a function. Indefinite integral is the antiderivative, and tools would be those developed by Leibniz, for instance, or Riemann sums. In philosophy and systems theory, it is used in the famous or infamous integral theory by Ken Wilber, with the most common model there, the AQUAL model, which is the acronym for all quadrants, all lines, all levels, all states, all types, and so on. It is also used in the integral yoga by Sri Aurobindo, a synthesis of various different spiritual practices. It's found in engineering and physics in integral equations, like math applied to physics again, for instance for modeling heat transfer. And it's used in everyday use to describe something that's all-inclusive, or to describe something that's indispensable, like saying that you're in an integral part of this team of investigators. We couldn't do anything without you, so keep going. So the cultural context, we find it in German, math and philosophy with the same word, and it's contrasted or complemented by words like ganzheitlich, like something like holistic. Japanese, the idea of sekibon, which would the same relate to or opposed togoteki. It's more philosophical holism. You have pitfalls like confusions that can arise, like in Spanish integral means or can mean whole grain, pan integral. The idea there is that originally the name was used for integral grana or integral wheat, which eludes me now. But the idea of integral grain is that you're using a grain that has not been altered much, that contains all of its elements. So at first the meaning is the same, but through usage you have the elision of the grain, and what remains is something like pan integral. Pan integral means pan de grana integral, pan bread made with integral grains. A fairly old use, so what we could think of as a cold case, obsolete or unusual uses, would be the relationship found in older centuries to integral describing morally unblemished person. So someone uncorrupted, unbribed, which now is taken more by the words and adjective integer and integrity. But if you go back to the original meaning, not touched meaning not touching money, for instance, not touched meaning not being stained, not being sullied, not being changed in its nature, darkened, not being corrupted. So there again, although the meaning would be slightly off tracks, we can find the same common origin and root. And the same thing would be found in integralism, in political ideology. So, where's the suspect commonly seen nowadays? So the hotspot would definitely be in academia, in transdisciplinary studies, and complexity studies, where you need to take different domains, bring them together, so include them, and work out and how you can map them together and how you can organize or make them work together. You find it in corporate jargon, integral solutions for whatever, so solving everything at the same time, a big dissolution. And you find it in spirituality or metaphysics, like integral consciousness. So the idea there is that you're not only taking all the states of consciousness or all the narratives of what the experiences you had in different states of consciousness can mean, but you're including and making them work together to create a unit. And this unit looks for a type of coherence and harmony that relates to health. If all the strata of the levels of consciousness, or what's called the levels, so dominant narratives of what we are and what the world is and what the definitions of self could be, and the different states of consciousness associated with it. So you can have a building with different floors, different levels, and this building can contain many different businesses, activities, companies. And these companies can be all included inside the same common space, this same set. They're all part of a company sharing the building, but they are not forcibly integrated, and they are not forcibly integral in the approach. They are not made to work together, to be organized and structured together to create a coherent unit, or to recreate a previously existing unit that was damaged, that was fragmented, broken down. So the guy's name integral can turn into a bit of an insult or a buzzword, at least. It would mean something like vaguely comprehensive after a while. So in closing this first part of the inquiry, you can say that integral is a polysemous suspect with a strong alibi across STEM, humanities and spirituality. Its core identity, wholeness, remains consistent, but contextual shifts require careful interrogation. The next step, what could that be? We could cross-examine integral versus holistic. We could profile integral theory by Ken Wilber as a key witness, or integral philosophies like exploring the work of Killen Morgan in Formscapes, and how it's trying to bring together science as a philosophy and older strands, older streams of esoteric philosophies, esoteric Christianity, classical philosophy, process philosophies and whatnot. The case remains open for further linguistic fieldwork and definitely open for further investigations in the specific practices, the specific works that this suspect or protagonist is doing. And we've seen so far that one of its power is to bridge the quantitative and the qualitative, making it a true lexical shapeshifter. To be continued.